2016, Glory had just signed a deal with ESPN, and I worked at ESPN, and as soon as I heard the news, I was like, wow, let me reach out to Glory and see if I can be a part of their broadcast. And luckily enough, it happened, and I became immersed in the Glory family. And I can tell you from day one, everyone talked about Rico Verhoeven.
He is the reigning and defending Glory Heavyweight Champion of the world, Rico Verhoeven!
Rico Verhoeven really didn't make a name for himself until Glory 11 Chicago. He won a four-man tournament that night, which he ended up beating Saki and Gita, and that really built the name of Rico Verhoeven as a champion. And then from that moment on, we just seen Rico get better and more dominant and continue to dominate the heavyweight ranks of kickboxing.
He was the next guy that was going to be the next big thing. And he had an amazing unbeaten streak in Glory, and no one was really even coming close to beating him.
That was one of the most flawless performances in the straight out of Mortal Kombat, the video game. Unbelievable. He beat a really, really tough guy.
But always, every time he won, every time he dominated, it's still, who's the best kickboxer in the world? And if you think about the history of kickboxing, before Glory even started, the king at that time of kickboxing was Badr Hari.
Go, you crazy bastard!
He made a name for himself because it was that do or die style. He knocked you out or he would get knocked out, and that's why he became a fan favorite. And he came in 18 years old and would fight the big names of kickboxing in such an exciting way.
I knew about Badr Hari from the old K1 days, you know, the Dutch Moroccan bad boy, the crazy guy who was just as wild in the ring as he was outside of it.
So the time Rico started to come and take over the heavyweights, it was the Glory time. So at that point, Badr already had his big fights, his big moments.
There was always talk about, man, wait till Badr Hari can come back in the ring. Wait till you see this heavyweight animal, and Rico's gonna get taught a lesson because there's no way he can beat Badr Hari. Like, everyone knew that Rico Verhoeven was the Glory Heavyweight Champion, but it was sort of like, well, he's only the champion because he hasn't fought Badr Hari.
So Rico kept dominating and dominating, winning in dominating fashion, and just went on a streak that hasn't been done in kickboxing before. But still, you even ask some of the heavyweights on the roster, who's the best kickboxer in the world? All of them will tell you Badr Hari. Well, most of them would. Social media, everything was about Badr Hari. The Moroccans came out, you know, that Badr army. I think it was Badr Hari really showing that I still am the baddest kickboxer in the world, the most popular kickboxer, the most exciting one. You know, then Rico Verhoeven, it was just so different than Badr. Well-spoken, polite, and just really didn't give Rico the credit of being the king of kickboxing or the best kickboxer in the world at that point.
When are these guys ever gonna fight? And there was rumors they would fight, or they couldn't fight, or they might fight. And after a while, you just thought, it's the fight that's never gonna get made. Until one day, sort of out of the blue, it got made.
So when Collision 1 was announced that it would be Rico Verhoeven and Badr Hari, I just think the kickboxing and combat sports world was shocked. We really wouldn't think Badr would come back, but to come back to face, you know, the #1 heavyweight kickboxer in the world was massive. And I think it really came together because of the fans. I mean, Badr is really receptive to what he calls his Badr army, the Moroccans, but he's got fans from all over the world. I mean, still anywhere you go in the world, everybody knows Badr Hari. So every time, like I keep mentioning, Rico was that new modern kickboxer, but he really couldn't consider himself the best kickboxer or the king, which he's known now, until he beat Badr Hari. And I think Rico knew that for his legacy. And for Badr Hari, I mean, he's a wild guy. He was known as the bad boy because, you know, he liked the challenges. So for someone to tell him that Rico Verhoeven is better than him, that kind of motivated him. It kind of got him thinking, and a man like Badr Hari will go in there and try to prove he's the best.
And we were set for Collision 1 in Oberhausen, Germany, Rico versus Badr, finally. As the hype was building for the first Collision, Rico versus Badr, you know, we had the press conference. And the main talking point after that wasn't what they said, but what Badr did or didn't do, because it was time for the face-off. That's the money shot. That's the whole reason for the press conference. It's the exclamation point at the end of the sentence. But for some reason, Badr Hari wasn't having it and just went exit stage left. So Rico was basically forced to stand there by himself.
I think this already shows his class. You know, I'm a true athlete, and I'm here. You know, I'm ready. I think this is a very disrespectful way to act, but in the end, you know, it's every person for himself. So I just do what I do best. And I'm here for the fans and for the media, so.
I know he didn't want to stare down and he didn't want a lot of interaction with Rico before, and I think that's just Badr Hari's style. I mean, I think it's best because I think if Badr would stare down with Rico, I don't know if he would be able to control himself with all the attention around the fight, with all the you know, hype and what's behind this fight. I don't know if Badr could control himself, and maybe that's why he didn't want to do it.
In some ways, I think it kind of helped the promotion of the fight because Badr Hari's this wild card and he hadn't fought in years, so people were thinking, what's he gonna do when the bell rings? And we don't even know what he's gonna do at the press conference now, so.
We don't know what to expect with Badr, and I think for me, it just made the fight that much more exciting.
Why should I go to, it's a press conference.
Yeah.
So you talk up with the press. When we finish talking with the press, I'm done.
Well, you've done 100 of these. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I did 1 million.
But you stood face to face with most of those guys. Some of them you punched.
Yeah.
At least you didn't punch him.
So maybe that's why it was a good reason not to face him.
So the weigh-in for Collision 1, you know, Rico obviously on time. He's a professional. He gets weighed in, no problem. But where's Badr Hari? Is he even going to show up? Is he going to weigh in? Much less is he going to do the stare down. And remember, he skipped out on the stare down from the press conference. So we've never seen these guys go face to face. That's the world is wanting to see this. Where is Badr Hari? Well, finally, he shows up. Maybe a couple hours late. Rico stays there and waits. And Badr walks in, gets on the scale, and they have an intense stare down. One of the most intense stare downs I think I've ever seen. And I mean, you could just feel the heat in the room building up. And Badr Hari and Rico, finally, it was about to happen.
Have been waiting for, and a sold-out Cooling Pills in Oberhausen, Germany.
Daar willen ze je zien. Okay. Please, guys. This side. It's okay. Safe. Tomorrow. Niemand. This is my motherfucking house. That's what's up, baby.
13,000 fans ready to witness one of the biggest fights in the history of kickboxing. Welcome to Glory Collision.
Once the fight was actually there and they started walking out, it was still one of the craziest things I have witnessed.
Well, you put the best heavyweights in the world against Rico, and he's won every single time. He's looking for his 12th straight win. And again, it's not going to be an easy task here with Badr Hari. As you can see the fans here really cheering Badr on.
So the crowd is going berserko as Badr Hari makes his way to the ring. Now keep in mind, Glory has fighter walks, which are protected from the crowd. Badr wants no part of that. He's the man of the people. He wants to walk right through Badr Army down to the ring for this fight. So that's what he does.
As for Badr Hari, Alistair, you can tell the fans a bit partial to him. He's been on this stage before. Do you expect any nerves from the Moroccan?
Listen, these fans are so enthusiastic in here. You're gonna have to repeat that question because I didn't hear a word you were saying.
And guess what happens? Chaos ensues, and the crowd, the Badr Army, follows him to the ring, storms the ring, and we have like a 15-minute hold-up in the fight.
Just the way the Moroccan crowd just kind of rushed the ring, the excitement, the pandemonium, it was just wild. But the most wild thing of all, and something that really stood out to me, while everything was going on, Rico and Badr stayed in the corner, continued to stare at each other. That must have been the craziest stare down I have ever seen. I mean, it might have been going on for 5 minutes and they didn't even blink, just staring at each other that entire time. So you knew once the crowd was going away, this was going to be a wild, exciting fight. I mean, I think just the atmosphere itself, the crowd rushing, the stare down, the buildup of the fight after so many generations, you couldn't have built a bigger fight for that moment.
Germany has a national guard, but we might need to get him to Oberhausen to settle this thing down. Hey! Here we go!
Right when the bell rings, the big question was, is Badr going to go right after Rico? Is Rico going to go after Badr? We just didn't know what to expect.
So once we saw the bell ring in that first round, I mean, I think just the excitement, we didn't know what to expect. If you look at Badr Hari's record, most of his knockouts come in the first round. Verhoeven is a fighter that can kind of wear you down, chop away at your legs, high guard you, pressure you. A lot of us thought the best chance for Badr in this fight would be to get after him really quickly, throw some blasting punches nice and fast. We've seen Rico susceptible to starting a little bit slower. So I anticipated Badr coming out a little bit faster, but we saw Badr really stick to his jab, Rico trying to pressure it. And it was pretty impressive the way Badr was using that jab to keep Rico off of him. But that first round, I thought it was a pretty good one for Badr to kind of been out of the ring so long, fighting Rico Verhoeven. He did the right strategy, but kind of staying on the outside, trying to pick his shots, and doing what Badr Hari does best, is fighting in moments.
End of the first round. The damage is done, though. Blood coming out of the champion's nose.
Badr was holding his own, and I think he was landing the more powerful strikes. In fact, he cut the bridge of Rico's nose, so blood's pouring out all over his face. Not good optics for the judges, and I think according to a lot of ringside observers, Badr won round one. So it's a great fight, and then in the middle of round two, all of a sudden on sort of an innocent grappling exchange against the ropes, Badr kind of comes out, looks at one arm, looks at the other, and then just sort of turns his back and starts walking away from the referee. And Rico, of course, is ready to fight. I look at Joe Valtellini real quick, and like, what's going on here?
The referee's giving him a count. Did he break his arm? Looks like his arm is broken.
And then all of a sudden the referee starts giving him a standing 8 count, and Badr just kind of walks over to the corner, and that's the end of the fight.
Rico Verhoeven, let's get ready for this crowd to explode.
Amazing. It was very unfortunate because I think, one, Badr really didn't let himself go. I think he was trying to wait for those moments to explode, but he didn't really have that moment. And I think at the end of the day, it created tension and ultimately another fight to get fans excited.
If Badr Hari will do it, will you give him the rematch?
Oh, no doubt. I told him right away, I said, hey, this is not our way. I wanted to win. And I told him, and I gave him all my respect. And, I said, we're going to do it again, man. I don't want to lose like this. And I don't think he want to win like this. I will get well soon. I will hit the gym, and I will knock this guy out next year. Totaal niet. Waarom denk je dat ik bleef staan? Ik bleef voor je staan. Je weet niet beter. Je doet het goed. Dankjewel. Je doet het goed. Ik ga je volgend jaar met de hand. Lekker, leuk.